Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into a story that's, well, it's really something else. We're exploring the life of Jean-Baptiste Grenouille. He's this 18th century figure, and his whole existence, his terrifying genius, it all came down to his sense of smell.
It did. And the sources we're drawing on, they map out this incredible, almost obsessive journey. He starts with absolutely nothing, total neglect.
Right.
And he ends up wielding this kind of synthetic but absolute power over everyone around him. It really makes you think about perception, identity, control even.
Definitely. And our mission here is, well, to unpack that. How did his unique senses shape how he saw the world? What pushed him towards, the crimes he committed? And what can this frankly bizarre story tell you about how easily human emotions can be manipulated?
To really get Grenouille, you first have to understand the world he was born into. And mostly that means understanding the smell of it. 18th century Paris. What was that actually like?
The sources paint a pretty grim picture, don't they?
Grim is putting it mildly. It was an assault on the senses. Constant filth. You had sulfur pouring from chimneys, caustic lies from tanneries making your eyes water, the smell of rotting teeth, unwashed clothes, sweaty bodies. It was everywhere. Even the rich, the nobility, they just covered it up with perfume.
Yeah, I remember that detail about the king himself. It wasn't exactly pleasant, was it?
Not at all. The sources say he stank like a rank lion, the queen, like an old goat. It's just a reality we can barely conceive of now.
And Grenouille arrives right in the thick of it. The Cimetière des Innocents.
The absolute foulest spot imaginable. Not just a graveyard, it was a charnel house. By July 17, 1738, when he pops up, they've been piling corpses there for 800 years.
800 years.
And he's born during a heat wave, so there's this putrefying vapor rising. The sources even give it specific notes. Rotting melon and the fetid odor of burnt animal horn. That's his welcome to the world.
But here's the twist, the paradox that defines him, right? The world stinks, but he doesn't. He's born completely odorless.
Exactly. Which is why the first wet nurse, Jean-Baptiste, rejects him. She even spells out what a normal baby should smell like. It's quite specific.
What did she say, like food smells?
Pretty much. Healthy baby feet, they
Yeah.
smell like fresh butter. The body like a pancake that's been soaked in milk. And the head, the crown of the head, that's the best bit apparently, like caramel.
Wow.
Grenouille had none of that. He was just blank. Sensorially speaking, a non-entity.
And that lack of a scent signature, it makes him seem monstrous.
Yeah.
So he gets passed around, eventually ending up with Madame Gaillard.
Right, the woman who'd lost her own sense of smell and seemingly all emotion after getting hit with a poker.
Which, weirdly, probably saved him.
It seems like it. It was this strange kind of protection. He gets through childhood diseases. Other kids even try to kill him at one point. But they can't quite register him properly. They could not smell him, the sources say.
So they were scared of him?
Instinctively, yeah. They kept their distance. His very lack of smell kept him safe.
Okay, so he survives this bizarre, scentless childhood. How does that actually, wire his brain? What does it do to his inner world?
Well, it completely skewed his development. Abstract ideas, justice, gratitude, love, he just couldn't get a handle on them. But concrete things he could smell, his mastery was incredible, almost instant.
So forget mama. His first words were things like fish.
Pretty much. Fishes, pelargonium, goat stall, those were his early words. By the time he's 6, his memory isn't pictures or sounds, it's this massive internal library of smells. He could tell different woods apart, maple, oak, pine, just by sniffing. Even how old they were, if they were decaying, what moss was growing on them.
That's amazing.
He's mentally mixing and creating new scents in his head, like this self-taught genius with a huge vocabulary. The sources compare him to a musical wonderkin, but for smells.
For musical prodigy of scent. That's a great way to put it.
Right.
So his inner world is rich, complex, but totally private until he's 15, right? When he finds the scent, the one that changes everything.
The red-haired girl, near the Pont Royal. He catches her scent, just a crumb, an atom, during a fireworks display cutting through all that sulfur and saltpeter in the air.
And this wasn't just a nice smell. The sources make it sound almost foundational, like it reorganized his whole understanding.
They really do. He instantly recognized it as the key for ordering all odors. It wasn't just beautiful. It was like the ultimate principle behind beauty itself. It had this dual quality, delicate, like thin, shimmering silk, but also substantial, comforting, like pastry soaked in honey sweet milk.
Evanescence and substance together.
Exactly. And the thought of losing it, of it just disappearing, that's what leads to the first murder.
And it wasn't about anger or anything like that, was it? It was purely about possession.
Purely. He strangles her just so he can get close, run his nose over her skin, and capture every last molecule of that fading scent. And in that moment, that terribly clinical moment, he finds his purpose. To not just smell the world, but to revolutionize the odoriferous world, to become the greatest perfumer ever.
Okay, so to do that, he needs skills. Which brings him to Giuseppe Baldini, the old perfumer.
Right, Baldini, who's failing, by the way. And he sort of represents the old guard, terrified of change, new roads, questioning the church. Anything modern basically freaks him out.
Especially new perfumes, right? Like Policia's.
Exactly. Baldini is desperately trying and failing to copy Policia's big hit, Amor and Psyche. He just can't figure it out.
And Grenouille walks in and
Gothic?
just knows.
Instantly. It must have been shocking. He sniffs Baldini's clumsy attempt and nails the flaws. Too much bergamot and too much rosemary and not enough attar of roses. Just like that.
Wow.
And then, to rub it in, Grenouille creates this astonishingly better version, right there on the spot, calls it Minapolitan. Baldini recognizes it as a kind of miracle.
He must have been terrified, but also intrigued.
Completely. He sees this raw, impossible genius. He realizes he has to learn Grenouille's language of perfumery just to stay relevant. So they strike a deal.
Grenouille gets the techniques, Baldini gets the formulas.
Grenouille learns everything about distillation extraction, becomes the absolute master. Then, once he has what he needs, he just leaves Baldini behind and vanishes.
Which leads to that incredible period of isolation. 7 years. On a volcano.
Plum du Cantal, yeah. A 6,000-foot peak. He seeks out the greatest possible solitude. Basically builds a fortress inside his own mind.
How does he even survive up there?
Barely. Salamanders, lichen, whatever he can find. But he spends almost all his time, like 20 hours a day, inside this mental crypt, having the sources call them olfactory debaucheries. He's replaying every scent he's ever known, conquering his inner empire of smells, rebuilding it, refining it entirely from memory. He's the absolute ruler of this internal kingdom.
Living entirely in his head.
Yeah.
Until something shatters that reality. The self-recognition moment.
Right, the catastrophe. He has this nightmare. He's suffocating in this dense fog.
Okay.
And he wakes up with this dawning horror that the fog, it was his smell, or rather the lack of it. He frantically checks himself, sniffing everywhere, and confirms the awful truth.
He has no scent.
None. Absolutely zero personal odor. The master of smell is a blank. A void. Sensorially invisible.
That must have been devastating. To realize you're not just unscented, but fundamentally undetectable as human in that way.
Exactly. It's an existential crisis rooted purely in scent, or the lack thereof. He decides he must create a human being odor for himself. It's the only way to exist.
So he comes down from the mountain and almost immediately gets picked up by this marquee character, Caillou de Spinès, with this bizarre theory about fluidum letae.
Yeah. Pure 18th century weirdness. The Marquis genuinely believed Grenouille's wild state was because he was poisoned by fluidum letae, this sort of deadly gas coming from the earth.
Seriously, earth gas.
Yep. And the cure was ventilation and eating noble, airy foods. It just shows you the kind of pseudoscience floating around back then.
But Grenouille, ever the opportunist, uses this, doesn't he? He uses the Marquis's setup to experiment.
He does. He plays along with the cure, but secretly uses the resources to create his first artificial scent, his first human mask.
And what was that like? Probably not very pleasant.
Oh, it was vile, but recognizably human. A mix of things like civet, old fish, rancid oil, creating this sort of sweaty, oily, sour, cheesy base note. It was repulsive, but it worked. It was his passport back into society.
And the effect is immediate, right?
Yeah.
The moment he wears this fake scent.
People see him for the first time, really. They make eye contact, kids move aside, mothers suddenly trust him near their daughters. It's chilling.
How did he react to that?
With black jubilation, the sources say. Pure contempt. He saw how easily people were fooled, how superficial their perceptions were. Just a few drops of stink, and suddenly he was real to them.
So now he has the ultimate disguise, a cloak of mediocrity. And he heads to Grasse.
The heart of the perfumery world. And this is where he begins his great, terrible project, collecting the ingredients for the perfect perfume.
Which means the murders start.
Yes. 25 young women, virgins specifically. He wasn't driven by lust, the sources are clear on that. He saw himself as a careful collector. He was harvesting their unique individual scents.
How? What was the method?
Enfleurage. An old technique. You use layers of cold fat or oil pomade to absorb the delicate floral scents. Except he wasn't using flowers. He was applying cloths smeared with this pomade to the bodies of his victims to capture their personal essence.
That's methodical and horrifying. And this brings Antoine Ritchie's into the picture, the second consul. His daughter, Laura, is the final piece, isn't she?
She is, and Ricci's is sharp. He's maybe the only one who figures out what kind of killer they're dealing with. Not some random maniac, but someone systematic.
An artist, almost.
In a twisted way, yes. Ritchie's calls him a collector, building a mosaic of absolute beauty. And he realizes his daughter Laura, with her specific beauty red hair, green eyes, is the keystone, the final crucial element.
So Ritchie's devises this clever plan to try and save her.
Very clever. He tries to make her ineligible as a perfect specimen. He fakes a big public departure towards Grenoble.
Misdirection.
Exactly. While secretly, he's racing with Laura and her maid towards the coast. The plan: marry her off immediately, urgently. Because a married woman, no longer a virgin, would lose that ideal quality the killer seeks. It was a desperate gamble.
But Grenouille, hidden behind his ordinary-smelling mask.
He anticipates it. He intercepts them at an inn in Lanapool. His fake scent is so convincing, so utterly unremarkable, that Regis feels completely safe. He falls into a deep, peaceful, refreshing sleep, leaving Laura vulnerable.
And Grenouille carries out the final step.
Meticulously, applying the pomade-covered linens to capture her scent. To him, she wasn't even really a person at that point, just the source of the final perfect ingredient.
He gets caught, eventually. They put him on trial, bring him to the execution scaffold in grass.
Mm-hmm.
Huge crowd, right? 10,000 people.
10,000 people baying for blood. But Grenouille isn't worried. He's wearing it. The ultimate perfume, the blend of all 25 essences, crowned by Laura's.
And what happens?
The moment the scent hits the air, pandemonium. But not anger, absolute adoration. The sources describe this wave of orgiastic and orgasmic rapture washing over the crowd.
Orgasm.ic.
Really, that's the word used. They don't see a killer anymore. They see their ideal, whatever that might be. A savior for some, a lord of darkness for others. The highest thing they can imagine. A bishop apparently just collapses in religious ecstasy.
He's achieved total control through scent. He made 10,000 people love him unconditionally. So why wasn't that victory? Why did it fail for him?
Because the love wasn't real. It wasn't for him. It was for the perfume, the lie. His actual self, his core of odorlessness and, frankly, hatred for humanity, was completely invisible behind this perfect olfactory illusion. The love was a barrier he couldn't penetrate.
And that moment with Richis really drives it home, doesn't it? Richis rushes forward.
Grenouille expects a knife, revenge for Laure. But instead, Richis breaks down, embraces him, calls him my son, and begs for forgiveness.
Forgive me, my son. My dear son, forgive me.
It's the ultimate denial of Grenouille's reality. He forced the world to love him, and the experience was utterly sickening. He felt suffocated by this fake adoration.
So he just walks away.
He escapes in the confusion. The crowd, meanwhile, wakes up, horrified and ashamed. They just see the remnants of this mass frenzy, this debauched army camp, and have no real idea how it happened. They just disperse, confused.
And Grenouille heads back to where it all began.
Back to the Cimetière des Innocents in Paris. Back to the worst stench among the absolute lowest of the low thieves, murderers, the truly wretched.
And he uses the last of the perfume there.
He does. He basically empties the bottle over himself, unleashes the full concentrated power on this small group of outcasts.
And the results.
It's even more intense, more immediate. They don't just adore him. They see him as an angel. They're overcome with this desperate, consuming need to possess the source of this incredible feeling.
They
Lunge at him. They literally tear him limb from limb and devour him, utterly. Out of love, the source says.
Consumed by the very love he manufactured.
Exactly. And afterwards, no remorse. Just this weirdly serene feeling among the cannibals of delicate virginal glow of happiness. The formula worked perfectly, even in its final fatal application.
Wow. So JBG, he was the ultimate manipulator, wasn't he? Proving that feelings, love, worship, desire could just be chemically engineered.
He made himself the omnipotent god of scent, yeah. He showed that identity could be a mask, and real power wasn't about armies or laws, but about controlling what people perceive through their senses.
Which leads to the pretty unsettling thought, doesn't it? He got what he thought he wanted to be loved, but because it was based entirely on this olfactory lie, not his true, odorless self, it felt repulsive, meaningless.
Right.
So here's something for you to consider. If our deepest feelings, our bonds, our sense of connection could potentially be triggered, even perfectly replicated, by just the right chemical formula,
Mm.
what does that say about the authenticity of any human connection? What happens when love is just a reaction to the perfect perfume? That's definitely something worth pondering.